course, it was closed, like everything else, for a long time. I was down here a few weekends ago and I saw the lines, and they were ridiculous. But as I expected, this is a weekday, midday. There's likely to be no line whatsoever, or not much. It's open, I forget if it's open year-round or just in the summer, but I went out to Governor's Island soon after it opened, and it was really cool. Nobody knew about it yet. I felt like I had the whole island to myself, and it just quickly became a scene, a mob scene. By the way, here's a pro tip. That sign says something about a pre-purchased ticket, or the other one did. If you have an ID NYC card, and you can only get one if you're a New York City resident, but if you have an ID NYC card, the ticket for this ferry is free. Normally it costs $3. That's a pro tip for you. As for the ID NYC thing, it'll be interesting to see how this works, because I booked online and they didn't ask for any proof that I had an ID NYC card. They didn't ask for the ID number or anything. And the guy just waved me in with only the visual of my e-ticket. So we'll see if they ever even ask for the ID NYC, or if you can just say you have one when you don't. There's a big party being planned somewhere. They're rolling out, like, I think this is the 8th truck. This party rental company. Big party going on somewhere. this now. I think this is the same boat I took last time. And I remember because I went to high school with somebody named Sam Corson. He spelled it differently than this, but it's just a funny little thing. It looks like plenty of seats. Much smaller boat than the Staten Island ferry, where you never have to worry about getting a seat. I'm just waiting for the motion sickness to start again. It's kind of a new thing for me, getting seasick. I get car sick too. And by the way, they did not ask me for any proof of ID NYC possession. Choose today on account of the weather, that's for sure, although at least it's not raining. Yeah. They say those wildfires in Oregon are sending smoke that is causing problems all the way out here.
family of 4 leave together. They will take 2 different cars. Let them be needed this year.
Oh no, please, don't make me this kind of stress on the last day.
Of course, you know I'm only out here for one reason. To answer the question, how many phone booths are there really in New York? I looked yesterday at the 4 that are out on West End Avenue. And a few months earlier, and by booths I mean outdoor booths, outdoor freestanding telephone booths, not indoor. There is a good quantity of those. But then a few months ago, I looked at the phone booth outside of the Standard Hotel. And that might stretch your definition of a phone booth because it's not really where you go to make a phone call. There's a phone in there that's supposed to be wired to connect directly to your state senator, I think. Some political representative. So it's a bit of a gimmick, and the Standard Hotel is a chain, and they have those phone booths outside of all their locations. But, you know, it's a phone booth if you're looking for that kind of thing. So if you count that, that makes 5. And if this old booth is still present and accounted for on Yankee Pier, that'll make 6. Governor's Island is considered part of New York County, and it shares the 10004 zip code with Lower Manhattan. And I would think phone numbers on this island probably used to be 212 area code. Same as Roosevelt Island, which is considered part of New York County. And I guess you could say it's part of Manhattan, in the same way that like Marble Hill up in the Bronx, which is physically separated from Manhattan, is still considered part of Manhattan. Man, it is really hot and humid today, more than I expected. There used to be 2 booths out here on Yankee Pier, one on each end, but they tore down and rebuilt one side of the pier. That's been years since that happened. I think there's one of these houses, it's not these, but one of the houses on this island is where I think Mikhail Gorbachev stayed. Is that possible? Oh, that was cool. The echo. I have a friend who knows somebody that works on this island, and I asked him to ask that person if they had any knowledge of whether this old phone booth is still present, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't been a pest about reminding him about it, though. And now I'm not going to have to, because I'm going to find out for myself.
Okay, so we got these doors, the locks are pretty much rusted out.
We're on the Buttermilk Promenade. Yankee Pier is on Buttermilk Channel. There is a population of people that live here. I think it was about 3,000 or 4,000 from what I glanced at before coming over here today. There are some people who live on Liberty Island, or at least there used to be, with the Statue of Liberty, which sounds like some kind of quaint paradise, but an article about it in the Times made it sound like a total pain in the ass. Living on that tiny island, you might as well be in the middle of the Pacific. A friend of mine once told me he was stationed here in the military back in the 50s, I think, or maybe later than that. And he said that Governor's Island used to have something he had never seen anywhere else. It was a Burger King that served beer. And he said it like it was the most fabulous bit of knowledge anyone could ever possess. But it made sense. I mean, there were no bars on the island. Or that's how he explained it. Take a look at that tasty water. It tastes like buttermilk, doesn't it? Guess all these big old buildings are unoccupied. Or a lot of them, at least. Seems like a prime target for squatters. And by the way, just to close the discussion on that ID NYC getting me the $3 ticket for free. They did not ask me to present any evidence that I had it, but I don't know. But I booked the ticket online. Maybe the process is different if you buy the ticket in person or if you use their ticket machines. I don't know. I'm not advocating theft of the $3 ticket, but just describing my experience. Oh, you know what I also want to see today? Is if the giant telephone sculpture is still here. They have this absurd looking, I mean not absurd in a bad way, just absurdist, telephone handset on the other end of the island. It looked like something Claes Oldenburg would have done. I don't know if that's still here. why this water smells really nasty. Buttermilk my ass. That's right, I read you can get a ferry to Yankee Pier. But I forgot where it left from. I guess that's what this is. Because this is Yankee Pier. I don't see it, but I'm actually not convinced that this is the spot where I saw it last time. I think it's further up, or further to my right. It was an old blue and white booth that had a credit card only payphone in it. And of course the phone had been dead forever. So it's not here, but I'm not convinced this is where it was last time. There's another pier up ahead that my memory says is actually where the booth was. And there's definitely no trace of it here. Although, to be honest, I think I would have seen it by now. I'm no doubt going to dig up my old photos of that thing, though. Well, all right then. I think I'm going to have to report that that phone booth is gone. If it was on any of these other piers, that would mean I've been wrong all these years about it having been on Yankee Pier. But I don't really have any doubt that I was right about that. But it makes sense to check these other piers just in case, because they all kind of look the same to me. And how are these birds not getting seasick? But yeah, this is more what Governor's Island was like when it first opened. You'll see like 2 people every 15 minutes. But that's before they started having, poetry festivals and concerts and whatever anywhere else. I mean, I've been out here where it was just so crowded you couldn't even breathe. I suppose it's a good spot for fishing. They say you're not supposed to eat too much fish that you catch in New York waterways because there's still a lot of, what is it anyway? Mercury. A lot of mercury in the water from, I think, going back to World War II. You know, actually, this doesn't really look like a great spot for fishing. It's too shallow. Or maybe that just shows how little I know about fishing. Hey, they're bringing me a portalette. There's like a motorcade, a parade of some. That had all the appearances of a funeral procession for a portalette. I've only been over there once, to Liberty Island. I really don't do touristy things in New York, or if I hit up a touristy place, it's just because I typically have some other reason to be there. And sometimes I wish I did do more touristy stuff. But, you know, it's expensive. I think it's $42 to get up to the edge. And I think it might be about the same, maybe even more, to get up to the top of the World Trade Center. If you look at this map, you'll see that the whole area that I just covered is all gray. There's nothing to do there, and whatever's going on is don't know what they're building out there or anything. So here, I guess, is where the island gets a little more interesting visually. And you know what else I'm not seeing? Although I haven't had my eyes peeled for them, but I'm not seeing any kind of emergency telephone devices. Usually you'll find at least those useless old red emergency call boxes. But on an island like this, you should also see solar-powered emergency phones in those yellow cabinets. Restroom out of order. I came all this way. Oh, this is actually what I need. I was just starting to think that this is sort of a dangerously food-free zone. Does this work? Yes. Oh, you can use a credit card too. God, this feels like I just found an oasis. I'm really hot and sweaty right now. I have some water, but it's warm, so this will be an improvement over that, assuming these machines work. As I guess I should have expected, or I don't know. I'm not surprised that it would, for whatever reason, would not take my credit card. It's like I didn't even slide it through the scanner. So I had a $5 bill, and it gave me 3 of these dollar coins. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Although I think I have a bag of these somewhere at home. There's some canopies with picnic tables. I thought about coming out here last week, but that's when it was like 105 degrees every day. And my memory of this island was that there was very little in the way of air-conditioned buildings to duck into when you're about to get heat stroke. And that does seem to be true, at least on this end. It looked like there might have been plenty of plenty of places to take cover over by where the ferry landed, but not so much over here. And this is an urban farm. And these light fixtures are interesting. There's a whole bunch of hammocks, and I might actually try to climb onto one of these, but I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to get out. I believe that's 1939. Sometimes I can't get confused by Roman numerals, though. You still see these things all around New York. They haven't been relevant for decades. And I read in the Times, actually, within the last 4 or 5 years, I think, that they began the process of removing them. Because they don't mean anything. There's no fallout shelter here. You know, you're not going to go down into the basement and find a week's supply of peanut butter and jelly. Which is the sort of stuff that they stocked fallout shelters with. At least for a little while, at least briefly. I think they got, the process of removing them got tied up in the fact that nobody knew who was actually responsible for them or whose permission they maybe had to get. Was it federal or state or city?
5, 6, 7, 8. Go 1, 2. You push it back. 3, 4. Release, push it back. Now notice how my heels up. I'm working all the way back. So they go back to center.
This place is kind of a paradise, isn't it? I believe these houses are open. Some of them at least. I know I've been in them, but it was a long time ago. Oh, this one. Clearly says do not enter. This old building's falling apart. At least the porches and balconies.
Heading forth.
You don't see a lot of houses in New York with wraparound porches. But there are actually a few in my neighborhood, though, right on my street, as a matter of fact. This is by Jeff Williams. Looks like a big crock pot in a slanted piece of metal. So this looks like the shared driveway for all these houses. The rear-facing garage doors. seem to remember reading once that what ended up being LaGuardia Airport was originally going to be built here on Governor's Island, and they were going to build bridges and stuff for access, but for whatever reason it never happened. I've always thought it's weird that I can walk to the airport. I did that a couple of times for business trips when I didn't have to bring anything more than a notebook and a laptop. LaGuardia is walking distance from where I live. Okay, I think I had my fill of this place for the day, but you know, I think I'm going to come back soon on a less miserable, sweltering hot day, and maybe do some research into what some of those old houses are, or what those old buildings are about. I don't really like doing historical tours of these things, but for some reason I'm interested in that this time. I don't know if I'm going to get this ferry or not. Looks like the return trip's a lot more crowded than the one going over. Got caught up in, looks like some kind of school field trip or something, or summer school field trip. This is a very freshly scrubbed, sanitized subway car. The cleaning crew just exited. Won't be getting COVID on this one, right?